Welcome, everybody. This is another one of our webinars at OnForm here, and I appreciate everybody joining today. We have a different sort of topic. This isn't a product tour. This isn't talking about our latest features. This is getting more into the heart of coaching, and I am thankful and proud to have a couple of coaches with me today to talk about the coach's dilemma, which is most golfers you see come in, they're mid-handicappers, they're not the perfect case scenario, but you have to help them in an hour. And how do you go about actually addressing that challenge? We'll get more into it, but first let me introduce you to our panelists today. With me is Mike Maggs from Cali Golf. Mike, thank you so much for joining.
Thanks for having
Uh,
me.
he's out in California, Carlsbad, I believe, and love having you here. We've worked with you for the last year or so. And then Erik Schjolberg joins us from Scottsdale. Erik, thanks for
Thanks.
joining.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited. This will be fun.
Awesome. Erik's out at McCormick Ranch in Scottsdale, been there for a few years, and Erik's been an OnForm user since before we started charging for OnForm back in 2020, I think.
Old school.
And so it's awesome to have you guys here. Really appreciate you taking the time out and time to share what you've learned. So I first want to step into a quick overview of the day or of the webinar. So we will be taking Q&A and I'll be peppering Mike and Erik with those questions. If you have any, feel free to use the Q&A section. There's other staff from OnForm monitoring that, and they'll feed me questions as they come up or try and answer them directly. This is being recorded and it'll get posted on YouTube in the next day or two. And the agenda you can see in front of you here, we're basically going to talk about what to do in a 1 hour lesson and how do you help them. Mike and Erik have generously shared a case study each that we'll go into so you can learn a little bit more on how they approach things. And again, in this setup here, like, of course, as coaches, we all want to work with a dedicated, committed, student that's got a long-term goal that is willing to practice. And maybe it's a five handicapper trying to be scratch or something. But the reality is, that's probably the rare case for most coaches out there. I talk to coaches of every flavor. Yesterday, I spoke to a coach that's never used video. Been a director of instruction for 20 years, and they're just starting to use video. I talk to coaches who coach tour players and use every gadget and gizmo out there. And the majority of that bell curve from revenue perspective is coming from that mid handicapper. And I was actually with Mike, I don't know, 6 months ago or so, and he said something. He's like, "Hey, look, I'd love to coach these high level people, but the reality is, most people come to me. They don't necessarily want to practice a ton, and I got to deliver some value in an hour, and that's all I get. I might never see them again." And I've heard Erik say similar things in various discussions over the years, and it just struck me as, I bet that's a topic that so many golf coaches have faced. How do you go about giving value to somebody in just an hour? So, without further ado, I kind of want to dive into that question, and we'll start hearing from Mike and Erik. So, I want
Sure.
to tee this all up with Mike. A person comes to you. It's their first lesson. They're just learning golf. Take us through how you actually approach that, and what kind of questions do you ask them, and how do you get started with that person?
Sounds good. We do a new student assessment, probably something a lot of the teachers out there do. So I'm always coming in with that perspective. I'm going to try to get them assessed. If it's a beginning golfer, it becomes more of a first lesson slash assess their aptitude more so than assessing their game. But what I start out with is a lot of questions. When I'm teaching, I'm trying to get in the mind of the golfer.
Yeah.
And I want to know, what they do for a living, how they play, where they play, what they like, what they don't like. Ask them the hardest question in golf, what are you good at? Right? And the easy question is, what are you struggling with? And, try to get as deep into that as I possibly can. even the example today was a student that came to me and has a meniscus problem. He had many surgeries on his knees, and you could immediately see, we'll see in a little bit, that it's affecting him. So I want to understand, what they think and feel in that moment. When I'm teaching people, I'm always trying to get across one thing, and that is getting them into sequence. If we can get a golfer into sequence, have a good grip, they got a shot. And so I'm always sort of focused there as we all started out teaching. Maybe some of the folks out there had a similar experience. You start seeing the patterns, the over the top, and there's like three patterns that everyone seems to be doing. And that seems kind of strange. Wow, everyone's doing that. Then you notice that everyone's reacting to the club face. They're not even looking at it. How do they react to the club face? So you can kind of see there are these internal things that are happening without them even noticing. Then eventually I started doing these assessments maybe 10 years ago. And I thought, well, I'm going to have people hit a pitching wedge, 6-iron, a driver, and get a little spread of the set. And I think these swings are going to be similar. And this could be educational for them. And since then, I've noticed that nope, every single person has their signature move and they do it with every single club. Not sure it took me 7 years to notice that, but it did. And so, wow, that's strange. Everyone's doing it slightly differently, but there's some kind of connection there that we're all kind of reacting to something. And eventually I started to see that it was the fight or flight response system and the balance systems. And then as I kept teaching, you kind of see sort of this meta swing, right? And kind of see the symmetry of it all. And I don't know if other folks have this experience, but you kind of see the thing, kind of analyze the swing as a whole. And it was kind of cool. Started to notice that because I was always trying to see what is this connection. And ultimately, I saw the moment where, at the moment of release, when folks are I'm gonna hit the ball now. That is to me the most important moment of every swing because they're either going to add compensations to fix it or they're going to let go and let the ball go. And so even when I'm doing these lessons and I do an assessment, I'll take them through this process as I did with Daniel. Then I'm going to, at the end, for the last 10 or 15 minutes, without hitting a ball necessarily, I'm going to get them to get into sequence so they can see themselves doing something differently because people have never actually seen themselves and they have a lot of assumptions. Golf is uncomfortable and hard to do, and that's just the way it is. And it's like, no, that's the way you're doing it, right? And so if I can show them, look, if we get you into sequence and you let go and release from this moment, all the swing errors melt away and everything you want to see in a swing start to appear. And I want to get that across to them in maybe a little drill sequence or some kind of thing I can group together so they can actually see a little bit of it. And that idea then encourages them, whoa, I didn't know I could even do that. So that means that I can maybe encourage them to not just do the 1 hour, but continue on. And at least I've got across to them that in sequence is the thing. So we're watching videos on YouTube or something. Maybe they'll watch videos about sequencing
Sequence.
and get themselves into balance so they can actually release the club instead of doing all the compensation. So to me, that is the most important thing. And I just always seem to come back to that with every single player. Once I get them there, kind of changes their whole mindset of what's possible.
Great. Well, I want to spend some more time on that signature move, and we're going to go through a case study here. Eric, how do you look at it? When you first meet
Yeah.
somebody, I'd love to hear how you approach the
So,
initial.
yeah, I mean, Mike said a lot of things in there that I do the same thing for. I'd say there's a few things different, but trying to get to the same result, I believe, and in the way we probably go about it. But I'm asking questions. I'll do a TPI screen, and I got to find out how they're moving. I need to know what issues they're having so I can, correct that and know what I have to do. I'm not just going to put them into something and find out they can't do it because physically it won't work for them. So I need to know that stuff. I'm also asking that stuff through questions. I'm asking, does anything hurt? And I get into sports they played to see what's influenced them before, because I think that's a big thing with how we'll move is how we've been influenced by sports. And I don't want to reiterate or say a lot of things that Mike already said, but the way I look at it is I look at impact is what we're trying to achieve, a good impact. So for me, I'm working backwards from impact and going, what do I have to do to fix this impact? So any change I'm making in the golf swing, I'm going, it has to be there. Now, the thing that Mike nailed is that golfers are dealing with an open club face, most every golfer, and they're reacting to that. The over the top has happened because of an open face. And I always said I would not have a job if these clubs on there had bold writing all over them said, the club face is your issue, stupid. And it's not that they're stupid. There's no reason they should know because it was in the textbooks of the PGA stuff for how long that path caused the issue. And we didn't know until TrackMan that the face for sure was where the ball started. But if you knew where the face of the ball started was the face, then you probably wouldn't swing way over the top. You'd fix it a different way because you look at an athletic person, their swing is not 14 degrees to the left. Like that's not what they want to do. I've seen golfers start off that are brand new. They have a decent looking swing. They don't swing dead left, but they will in about 3 to 5 swings because it will correct they'll start, playing a little, slice and it'll come back to the middle. And they're like, oh, I fixed it. And yeah, and then like, well, then they started down this path that's going to be, some probably tough to get out of the way. But if they understood the face, then, we'd have a different issue. So, the face to me is a big thing. And then, as far as the other stuff, the biggest thing I see with amateurs, besides the face being way open, is they shift way over to their right side. And by the time they start down from P4 and they're getting ready to start down with the downswing, they're probably 80% of the way on their back foot. So I'm doing usually whatever, and that's just, it's very rare that I see an amateur golfer that is, 10 plus that is not on their back foot trying to start the downswing. And depending on how much that is, no matter where your face is, you're never going to slide enough in a good position to get up to an impact that I would like to see with the right shaft lean and everything. So I feel like I have to correct that. That's the number one thing I'm trying to correct there to achieve a better impact. And I kind of show that in the thing that we, with a training aid that I use in the, what you're going to show here. But, the other thing about the 1 hour lesson, I believe for a long time that we have a duty as coaches to get the golfer better in that 1 hour so they can see the improvement and they're wanting to continue to work. I feel like there's no reason for them to get worse. There should always improve. And if you're improving face, if you're improving sequencing, like Mike is saying, there's no reason they shouldn't hit the ball better, almost immediately. And if you're not achieving that, to me, something is wrong if you cannot get the golfer to hit the ball better in that 1 hour lesson. Now, it may be shorter swings that we're doing this. It maybe feel like punch shots we're doing, but they're going to feel really good if they're over the top and they start getting a swing. It's 3 to 4 degrees to the right and a little bit of a draw. And then, it's more of a punch shot feeling, maybe a little bit lower, one club different. They're going to feel great with that comparative to where they were before. And it's a playable shot too. So I feel like we have a duty to get them better within that 1 hour that we're seeing them. And I feel like that's one of the reasons golfers don't come back because they get worse. And the reason I know is I read it in the board. Somebody will say, "Hey, should I take a lesson?" I'm like, "No, you'll get worse." And I'm like going, "Wow, that's a bad thing that's out there that we have as coaches that people believe that there is. You go get a lesson." I hear all the time. Somebody they'll come into a new lesson. I go, "Okay, yeah, I got to hit 200 balls a day because I know I'm going to get worse if I get better." I go, "Oh, whoa, hold on. No, that's not the case." So they already believe that myth from hearing it so much from somewhere. I don't know where they get it, but just like a lot of things, they get it. So I feel like we have to do as coaches to make sure that they get better in that 1 hour.
No doubt.
And
I think that is certainly what they came to you for, is to be able to hit the thing in the air, maybe twice in a row, et cetera.
Yeah.
What are some of the key milestones or things that you are always trying to achieve in a lesson with a student so that they feel like they got some value out of it? Mike, I'm kind of curious to hear your thought there.
I think Eric kind of keyed into it. Everybody's, stuck in their back foot with the open face, right? So in essence, I think Eric and I are, what it's describing is kind of what I'm trying to say from a different perspective.
Yeah.
As I tell my students that, from 50 feet up, we're all talking about the same thing, right? I haven't seen too many coaches say, "Now get on your back foot and throw it over your shoulder," right? Right. So if we, get down to the nitty gritty, everybody has their preferences and their styles and different things. But from 50 feet up, we're all trying to get to that lead foot and push off and release the club. So I'm trying to get them over there and sensing that. And I'm a little different because I do that assessment. I don't want them to come in for that 1 hour lesson. So I'm very much encouraging them to go through this assessment process, see what's possibly without a ball so they can see it. And then in lesson 2, hopefully, then I'm going to get them hitting the ball and doing those things. So I purposefully do that because I want them to feel confident that there's something there that I can do. Because to me, in the end, it's a process of doing that. So if I can get them on that lead side and go, it's going to be huge. And then once again, that second lesson, we sort of meld that into one thing. Kind of cheating for the webinar, but you see what I'm saying? Then we're working into it. Okay, let's get the body moving over there. And really, I'm talking to them individually. What are they going to accept? how far are they going to go? Is this person going to go with me to this place? Or do I have a very limited amount of space to operate within? And I'm just going to adjust to that. Can they take verbal? Can they be visual? Can they use drills? What do they sort of click with the most? And you can kind of see them repel or go towards things. So I'm using a lot of that to get there. But in what like Eric was saying, get them off their back foot, get to the lead side so they can properly release, so they can literally feel that.
Yeah.
Because until somebody feels it, it's like riding a bike. You don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
They feel the ground hitting it fat or hitting it thin all the time or something. Yeah,
Yeah.
when you click one, that's what keeps us all addicted to the game, right? You hit one true. That usually happens on the last swing on 18, right? It's not no.
So I would say my thing is, and I probably should have clarified, my initial lesson that I always do is 2 hours because it takes so long to gather data and to go through the other stuff we have to do. So
Yeah.
any lesson I do, the first one has to be 2 hours because there's just no, and I even feel like 2 hours is rushing it. Like my ideal, if I could always do it, would be all 3 hour lessons to start because I don't hit driver, I don't hit chipping in that. That is just really irons in that first lesson because of time. And I'm sure, Mike, you know what I'm talking about. I don't have more time than that in that first lesson if it's 2 hours. So, but they see what goes on in that and they're wanting to come back to do driver and other stuff after that. So, what's the most important to me is in the end, I think low point's the most important thing. How do we get them with a good low point? How do we achieve that is the question, right? So they got to have a good, to me, it's hard to say pivot. You know, I can say pivot's number one, so I can achieve the number one thing, which is impact. So I got to have a good pivot to have a good impact. If I don't have a good pivot, I don't believe you can have a good impact. If I have the chest over my pelvis, then I'm going to be in trouble. If the chest is leaning way back over the pelvis and I get that bad, it's trouble. So I'm very big on a good pivot, getting that right, because that at least gives us the chance to get in a good position. If you have a good club face with a good pivot, we can get a good shaft lean as long as you're on your front foot and you start striking them well. So if those three things are a pretty good combo to getting some good shots out there and seeing some good improvement in the
Right.
first lesson.
And to me, that's a pretty good example that's what I'm saying too.
Right? Yeah.
Different perspectives into how we say it. And then in the end, yes, I'm trying to get them over there because how else are they going to be able to make that good contact? So it's sort of which way do you head into it to get them to the spot that we're both definitely talking about?
Yeah, I think there's ways like the way you're talking about is a little different. Like it sounds like you focus a little bit more on sequencing maybe than I do right away, but you're trying to get to that same spot. I have to have decent sequencing too to get to where I'm at, but I may not go about it how you are in the release, but we're trying to get to the same point. And I think maybe that's where preferences come in and just kind of how we do things. If we can get there a different way, then okay, we're there. But everybody's going to have a little bit different way, I think, as long as they achieve the goal of what we're trying to do, of get there. And there's certain things I think that you have to do. I don't think it can just be a swing. I'm starting to hear the stuff out there like be you, do you with your swing. Yes, there's a lot of things you can do that are your own in your swing, but there's certain things that we need to do in the golf swing. I can't be you, do you with a wide open club face. Like it just won't work on my back foot. Like that's not be you, do you. It won't work.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mike, you
I'm just not going
mentioned
to give somebody something that's not going to work.
Yeah.
Just
Well, no, I didn't say you. I wouldn't say you. I'm talking like
No, I just
like
mean in general, right?
I just feel like there's that thing going around out there now that people are starting to say, like, golfers want to do the do you thing out there. And it's like, there's certain things you got to do in this golf swing. Like, I want everybody to be their own. They don't have to be a model or anything, but we have to have the club face in certain spots. They can't have it wide open. Like all those things we're talking about. We can't be on our back foot. Just these certain things we have to do, but we can all look different, but at certain spots, we're probably going to look somewhat similar.
Let's talk a little bit real quick because you both mentioned it as we were just discussing kind of what your typical lesson looks like. What sort of tech are you using? And are you using training aids? Are you using other technologies for even a high handicapper? Eric, I kind of know your setup, but talk to me about what sort of things you use for a
Well,
person.
I think you'll see what I use in this one. I like to use the pressure board, the Y golf one. So it kind of sits down, keeps them on their left side, so you can really feel what it's like to start turning on their left side. I do a lot of mirror work with them. I like certain training aids. I like alignment sticks a lot. I use alignment sticks a ton for things. whether it's the shaft plane, whether it's holding the club. I mean, a ton of different things I use it for. I feel like I have every training aid, and I use about 5% of them. Because I like messing around with them just as a golfer myself. But very simple stuff in the lesson, and the training aid has to be something that is not forcing you into a position, but helping you feel it. I.e., like I can't have something that moves my wrist and holds it back. I need something that would make me feel like I have to touch it, not hold it. Like there's certain aids that hold you in positions. That's not good because we fight it. Actually, we'll fight it this way if we're doing it. We want something that makes us go, oh, I need to hold it on it versus something holding us in a position. But I like that kind of stuff. If I can do it without a training aid, I'll do it without. But because I try to always think, what do they have? And I don't want them. I don't want giving them stuff like, okay, we did all this stuff, but they don't have any of the equipment I just gave them did it with. And so I always try to leave them with drills and stuff that they have that they can do without really any of the trainings. Except I like them to have alignment sticks, aim sticks.
Yeah. Well, and on that, Mike, I'm going to ask you the same thing, but I think we should go ahead and dive into a little case study, and you can kind of talk through kind of how you approach it, because you have a cool one here that does pull into a training aid. And
Yes.
without further ado, I think that's what people love seeing is, how do other coaches go about stuff, and actual case studies are a great way to go through that. So if you don't mind, and the Zoom gods are happy, which sometimes isn't the case. Hey, all right, they are. So everybody should be able to see my iPad here, and Mike shared over some videos of a student. And I'm going to let Mike kind of drive the interaction here, and maybe just talk us through how you handled this scenario, and go from there. Um,
Yes, this was Daniel. He came in, and if we see this, first of all, I agree with Eric. If they don't have the teaching aids, then what are we doing? Right? They have to
Yeah.
have the teaching aid for themselves. So I like alignment sticks, and I'm going to use one here, but I'm going to use a teaching aid if it's, well, that thing is going to get me over the hump. They can grab a feel here that's really going to be helpful in this moment. And of course, like I said, he comes in, he hits a bunch of shots with different clubs, and we do some putting and chipping. We do the whole game there in about an hour. And then in the last 15 minutes, I'm going to get him to move in a way that's differently. But as you see this first swing, after I'd asked him how his body was doing, he said he had some meniscus surgeries. And you see this
Yeah.
swing, and you're like, well, there you go. So he's obviously protecting his knee. Now, my
Mm.
next question is, with the mind, I'm always sort of thinking about what's happening in the mind. Is that a habit that was created while he was protecting it, or is he protecting it now because it can be painful? And or the mind just doesn't want to do it. So I had an experience myself. I have hereditary gout, which I came on like about 5 years ago for the first time. My foot ballooned up. It was very painful. Don't get gout. And it was a couple of weeks out, and it's finally like, 97% gone, and there was 3%. So, all right, it's just a tiniest little twang. I'm going to hit some balls. And I couldn't get to my front. I was doing basically this move every time. Like, okay, this time I'm really going to do it. I couldn't do it. So that was a huge epiphany for me personally to see, wow, that effect is extremely powerful. So I wanted to test him because he's figured out how to hit a ball like this, but obviously he's coming to me. He's very unsatisfied with the ability to strike. Pretty good job of getting it on plane and making it work, but it's, a lot of shoulder happening there and a lot of stuff. But you can see there's an athlete underneath that. And it's also the thing I'm looking for. Is there underlying movements that are already looking pretty good? That if we get the trouble out of the way, are they going to take over and turn into something that he can just flow into without much thought? Because we have a little bit limited on how much thought we can give the students. So we see he's got the hitch in his giddy up. And so I wanted him, after we talked about it, I showed him what was going on, and we talked about his legs and his surgeries, and I did some basic movements with him, kind of see if he could get on that lead leg and get to that spot. And then we started doing some drills. This will be the next one. And my intent here in this last 15 minutes is just get him to see this. And in his case, get him to see, hey, I can do that. I can be on this leg and stand up. I can kind of get a little on the side of the foot. I can literally do this. And for me, it's almost like I'm showing not only him, but his subconscious, right? Hey, this is possible again. And having seen him do this, I said, okay, he's moving pretty well. I think we've got a shot at this. And so then I don't like to go right to the teaching aid. I like to go and then test it freehand, because if somebody's going to get it, I don't want to add more information. And we see then I let him go and get onto that spot and go. He's doing a much better
Hmm.
job, but obviously the hands are, the arms a little behind him. He's a little stuck back there. And well, nice angles though, right? It's good stuff. You see an athlete starting to form again. I didn't show him this. I just saw this. And then, okay, well, let me get a teaching aid here. Bring this in front a little bit more. And everybody has this one. If you got some glue, make sure you bring it, because these things fall out. It's a great tool, but man, glue it up, fellas. Right now, we're getting more and more in front of ourselves, and I'm running ultimately out of time. And this was what I wanted to see. Obviously, get those hands a little more in front of him. He's going to square that face a little bit more, and I think he's going to fall in there to a pretty good spot. And so then I want to take him here and say, hey, yeah, I did this little comparison and said, look at you. This is you. These are very different golfers. And from our conversation, this is the thing he was talking about, right? So I dug into trying to get one in their heart. What do they really want? I got to beat my buddy. This guy's talking crap to me, and I just got to beat him. Got to beat my brother, whatever it is. I got to outdrive my friends. I just want to play good. I want to get this score. Whatever that thing is in their heart, then I want to address that for them in this assessment and show them, hey, this is possible to achieve. And to show them it really wasn't that difficult. The challenge comes from literally doing it enough and patiently, as I described, to change that neural pathway, right? To change the physical movement. That's the hardest thing in golf for me, is having people understand that they need to just be able to move differently, because their mind wants to do that old thing as soon as the ball's there and that fight or flight kicks in.
Yeah.
So now that they can see it, now they're encouraged. But if I put a ball out in front of him, right, he's going to lift that leg and do that old swing instantaneously, until we get enough reps and we grind it in and start to work it in. So then I'm encouraging him with this. And then in lesson 2, or in Eric's case, in hour 2, because 60 minutes is tough. We're both cheating. 60 minutes. And then hour 2, essentially, then now we're going to start to get him move, see if we can get him up to hitting some small shots. And one of my favorite drills, I came up through Jim McLean. So the pinch punch drill, where we're going to hit a little punch shot from with like 7-iron, right? Get him to be able to do that, get the body moving and getting into sequence, essentially. And then that leads, of course, to impact. And so I'm sort of sequence to impact, because I think you got to be in sequence to get to impact. And then Eric could say it differently, where he's impact to sequence, or whatever. We're all saying the same basic thing. How do we get the guy over there? And so then he was quite encouraged, and now he's my student, right? So now I've got a shot with him. I've got some credibility with him that, hey, we got a shot to do something really cool here. And it's addressing that key thing that he was asking about. And to speak about Jim, that's what he was always talking about. What does a student want? Let's give him that. And kind of what I referenced before, I'm not going to give him some quick fix that I know he's not going to be doing in 3 days, right? Because he's going to go right back to this old pattern. He's going to be frustrated again. I want to try to get him to see that there's a pathway, and it doesn't take an extreme amount of practice. It just takes the right movement close enough together without misinformation, enough times where that neural pathway can connect. And now their mind goes, hey, this is better. I'm going to start doing it like this. And now that changes, and we bring the ball in, and so on and so forth. So to me, that's my key, and it fits into my process as well, trying to get the students to be a little bit more long-term, so we can actually really help people get better instead of just the YouTube quick fix, right? I'm on YouTube, but
Mike,
it's a
can I
lot
ask you a
of quick
question
fixes.
about this?
Yes.
Can I ask you a question? So you said Jim McLean, like your thought is, how did you word that about giving the student what they want? Or how do you word
Yeah,
that?
Jim was always saying, hey, it's the student. We need to give them what they're looking for, not what you're looking for. And I
How
think
do
that
you
kind of
handle
keys
that?
in.
So
Go ahead.
positionally, right? How do you handle that positionally when you find out that doesn't fit with something, somebody's like, I just hate this or something, but you're like, in your mind, you're like, man, this is so much more important that we work on this. Is that what you're talking about positionally like that? Does that ever come up,
A
or how
little
do you
more
handle that?
of kind of what's in their heart. I can
Okay.
sort of
Okay.
talk them out of, guide them over to kind of a thing in that, because
Good.
I don't think I have, I want people to have their own flavor on their
Yeah.
swing. And when they get into sequence, they're going to have their own flavor. And so that's why I put it from that perspective of sequence. I get them into that, and then, okay, they have their own way of doing that. And I'm going to try
Okay.
to stay as close to that as possible because to me, that is sort of what people are talking about. With golf, we're always sort of almost talking about the thing and not, right? We don't want to
Right.
just have them swinging however they want, right?
Yep.
It just feels free and then they hit it terribly. But we get them into the sequence and then let them hit it how they want in a way, right? If that makes sense what I'm saying. Get
Yeah.
them the fundamentals and then their own signature can come through.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks
Yeah.
for
That's a
taking
great
us
job,
through
man.
that.
That was a really good job with him. Really good.
I had
Else
a
have a
person
good,
ask, "How are you doing this?" Just for everybody's knowledge on the tech side of things. Mike has a sweet setup where he has two angle iPad, iPhone, or maybe two iPhones, and then he's also got a full swing kit.
yes.
And the astute
I think maybe
viewer,
on the original one,
yeah, saw that we do
maybe
have
had the
some,
numbers at the bottom.
yeah, the metrics, and I can do multiple panels and things like that. So
Yeah.
it's an automated capture system, and we can turn on the 3D metrics and whatnot. But yeah, suffice to say, that's how that's being done, is with the full swing kit and two angles with our multicam. Mike, this is
Awesome.
so cool. People love
Yeah.
seeing this. Eric, I want to give you a chance to take us through the case study that you sent me, and
Yeah.
let's take a look at that if you don't mind.
Okay. So just if you want to go to that before face on, let's start with the face on if it's labeled before, hopefully.
Is
Um,
that says F? Oh, that's DTL. Sorry,
coaches stuff.
this one.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. If you can draw a line for me, if you start over from the beginning, if you can draw a line down his his right foot on his back side and at like 7 degrees. So it'll be towards his head. And it starts on his left foot, starts outside his ankle, and then bring it right into his ankle. So starting on his ankle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that bottom part will be a little bit more out.
Oh, on the
So
very
I want it,
edge.
yeah. And a little bit more on the edge of his foot. And is that 7 degrees still? Probably pretty close. So I've always found this line amazing if we have it exactly right. Now I want you to swing up to right before transition,
Hang on, I'm going to actually
or
use
right
the
at transition,
line
I should
angle.
say.
7 degrees.
Okay. And if it's right on that, yeah, okay. All right. Now just go up to transition right before he starts down. So right there. Okay. So when I kind of look at this here, this is first off, you can see his hips are kind of shifting a little bit towards the target there. I want to see if you look at every elite golfer, it's hard for me to find any golfer on tour that is not right against that line right there.
Mm.
Their legs will be against it, their upper body will be against it. Obviously, their arms will be over. So I can tell right there just a little bit of shift with his body over there. He's not against it. And this one was a little different. Usually on the other swings, his upper body was a little bit more over to the right of it. So what I want to do is get him to kind of turn a little bit better, like what he's feeling kind of against that. Now, I don't think it's that much. That line's a little bit off, but anyway, it's kind of a general line to look at it and say what is he doing. Now, I'll put him on a mat that I have and kind of look at it and see where he's at percentage wise, what his center pressure is doing to get exact. But this is just kind of my general thing. Yeah, that's pretty good right there. Go up here now again and stop at the transition. Let's see it. Yeah, so you can see just a little bit of his upper there. That's a lot better. There's a little bit of his upper body's over there on the right side of it. And I can tell from this, and I know from him, he's more loaded. I can't remember exactly what it is into his right side at transition, but it's over 60%. I think it's maybe 65, 68 right now here. It's close to 70. And I want him feeling more into the left by then, that by the time he's transitioning, he's gotten more into his left side. You can you can pull up either the down line along with this one if you want to bring it in, compare it with, yeah, you can just throw that in if you want. And we'll see kind of, he
Oh,
has,
you want this one
yeah, the
before.
before, and we'll kind of see that he has a little bit of a over the top move. Like he doesn't have, yeah, see the club kind of steepens a little bit there. And you can see if you go to impact, if we stop at impact, it almost looks like he's at a dress still, except for that leg is up. I mean, there's no rotation in the down the line one. Early extending. So a lot of things are happening on the way down. You can see when I look a lot of his face on now, you look at where he is by the time, if you go one more frame forward and the face on, like one of the things I'm looking for is by the time he's here, like the feeling is that this club face is almost still, if you draw a line from the shoulder, arm, straight down through the leg, like I would want that club to go down that line too. And I'm sorry, on the lead side. So right down, yeah, straight down there. Now you'd go straight down his leg.
Oh,
So from shoulder down to his foot. Yeah, perfect. Sorry, Gare, I'm not describing well here, but you can see how the club passes his hands a lot here. Like I want by the time it gets right here, the club is still straight. Straight with that is the thought and the feeling. So impact is in front of the ball, and you'll see, like a lot of break golf strikers are even ahead of that, but that's where I kind of want to get him to. So let's go to the other one, and I'm going to show you kind of here. I put him on a board so that he stays that more pressure left. And might as well let's just pull it both gear if we can at the same time. If we can time these out or get that other one a little bit bigger down the line. Can we increase that down there? Perfect, good, and just kind of sync them up to impact. See, this is what I love about on-form, like just everything you can do. Like at being with on-form since the beginning, if you want, you can just start by drawing that line. You can see how he has it now from shoulder line straight down to the club. The club is straight now, everything's straightened out by the time there. So if you at impact, if you'd go perfect, yeah, I mean, it's right there is good. So at impact, obviously that club is going so fast right there. Impact, if you go a frame or two back gear, yeah, I mean, that's where impact is going to be there. Hands are going to be ahead nicely here, how different that is from the last one. And the club straightens out there. So it's totally different. But go up here. Let's see the downswing with the down the line one too. You're see some differences here. What I didn't show you in the last one, his club face was wide open. And I want to show you a downswing of this one. If you can go to up to transition gear, and then I want you to go down really slow from there. And you're going to see it when it gets on his body with the club face angle and it kind of get on his forearm. And you'll see it comes in at a really nice angle here. So now look at that club face there. Can you come down a little bit more? And you can see it's coming. Yeah, toe is a little bit down. Now it's a little bit more down. It's right on his hands and he's turning right off that. So it's like, to me, really good positioning. On the board, you can't turn as well, but you're going to see his hands go more left if you just keep going through than they did. See how his hands are exiting left and not as they did before. So, this is what I would do. I'd get him on here, and then I wish I had the other ones show you, but we're going to do that same length of swing off the board. And I like to do a kind of a sequence, of like 3 to 1, 3 on here, 1 off. And then let's say he does, and this guy was really incredibly athletic. It was amazing how quick he got it. So I was like, okay, well, let's do 2 to 1. Let's go 1 to 1. And then we were off the board like very, very quick where he was doing this without it. So he was able to manage all those things that we were trying to do without the board very quick. Most people aren't like that. I at least have them at a 1 to 1 where they're doing 1 on the board, 1 off the board for the feeling. That way they can still feel what they're doing on there, assuming it's correct on the board, and then try to do it. And I do the same thing as Mike does, is I'll show them the kind of before and after so they can see it and see, okay, look at what you're doing here. And they get excited about it. Like, oh man, like especially most people have like that come into me, and I don't know if I'm assuming the same as Mike, they've seen their swing. They have an idea of what they want to, they have no idea how to get there, but they probably know they want some shaft lean. They probably know they want to shallow the club maybe or something.
Yes.
They probably, yeah, I mean, so they have some idea of those things, which is to me really cool. Like I love when people, like, the more they know, like it can be hurtful in certain situations, but I think it's better off for us these days that they have an idea of these certain things. We just have to get in, like Mike said, into their subconscious and to see what is influencing them on their golf swings. And everybody's influenced by something, and whatever it is, it may just be that open face or whatever, but there's something going on too that's influencing golfers what they're doing. And new golfers really influenced by trying to get up in the air, or by every one of their friends that told them to keep their head down, and it's killing them. So we got to find out why they're doing those certain things. When I see somebody keep their head down forever, I'm like, okay, well, let's go look at the video. You may be the first one in 35 years or that I've taught that I haven't seen lift their head up. And they come watching, like, oh my God, I'm staring at it. So video's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A quick question. What is, for everybody, what is that board you're using? We had
It's a pressure board by Y Golf makes it. And I like it because it has teeth. like there's a bunch of other companies that make them, but this has teeth that kind of dig into the whatever surface you're using, so it helps it from not spinning around. A lot of the
Gotcha.
other pressure boards don't have those teeth and they spin on you. This I like because it kind of grabs the ground underneath.
Gotcha.
Yep.
And
And I'm
just
just telling them to stay on their left side just on this. I set them up, I get them in the right tilts, and then just stay on their left side for it, what that feeling is for them.
I have another question. You talked about it obviously with the board and whatnot, but how do you guys view ground pressure, and do you use, ground force pressure mats or force plates
Yeah.
or anything like
So
that?
I'll answer since I'm talking real quick. So I'll finish this. I did mention that I do use it in assessment, and I do use it with golfers. It depends how big of how I want to use it. Some people that have huge issues, I'll put them on pressure. I'll let them see it on their. I have a pressure mat. I used to have the dual ones, the dual 3D, and I got rid of them because like I use also another app that gives me really good readings from Motion to Coach, Fenris. That if I have to do that one, I'll do that for one video, and I just will get the reading of what they do on the ground. But otherwise, I'm using pressure mat or just. Here's the thing: when you've done this a long time too, I feel like you can see it, but it depends on the person, right? And what they need.
Yeah, yeah. And for the beginner golfer, is that ever a factor that much, Mike? Are you ever pulling out pressure for a high handicapper?
It could be a good tool. I don't use it. I am more, I lean a little bit, and there's no right or wrong answer, right? I'm always essentially questioning, is this the right way to do it? Is there a better way to do it? Kind of like the golf swing, right? Because I'm always learning. But I want them to be a little more intuitive. I just, most of my students are more, we have elite golfers, certainly, but most of them are just the normal avid golfer. And for them, I want them to see that this is sort of possible without too much. And then I bring the tools in to clarify or solve arguments. Essentially, when I first got TrackMan, it just solved arguments, right? You're over the
Well,
top.
yeah, and you can
No, I'm
see it.
not.
I think, to say like, if someone's on their back foot or where they're at, like you see
Yeah.
so many swings over time, like, like how they're shifting. We know it, like I feel like when you've seen a ton, with your eye what they're doing.
Yes.
So I think, yeah, I don't think it's necessary all the time.
Yeah.
And so if you don't mind, maybe go back to Eric's student. It's a pretty good swing. This is a good example, I think I could show where I look. And maybe his first face-on swing.
This is his first face-on swing right here.
Yeah. So go to the top. And what I saw is the moment when I talk about release, there's a moment when in every golfer's mind, they're going to hit the ball now. In that moment, they need to be perfectly balanced. And you see what's happening for him is he's not quite to his lead leg and he's already releasing, right? It's very subtle, just a little bit. And if you're not ready there, right, sort of physics of it, if you're not able to use your whole body to help you release, then something's going to compensate. And to me, that when I see that, then I see the compensations come in. And that's why I'm so focused on sequence. Once I get them, in fact, he's pretty close. Yeah, it came down just a little bit. He's right balanced, right about there, I'd say.
Yeah.
If he was just coiled up a little bit more, his release would change dramatically. And then Eric's just seeing it from a different perspective, right? The board and getting in that tilt is helping the student feel what I'm talking about. So it's essentially, to me, getting to the same spot. But I kind of want the student on this left to know, so that when they say they don't have the board or they're not doing the drill or something, why? So I'm always trying to give them the why. To me, that then gives them a bit of a framework that they can always keep coming back to. Well, when I release the club, Mike said I got to be in balance. And if I can get them to feel that, it changes it. So it's just a perspective thing.
I
But
love it.
if I can get them to sense that moment, and then once I sort of, as Erik was saying, you start to see this meta pattern or the symmetry of it, and you kind of see it and see the whole swing as a unit from seeing, I don't know, a million swings, right?
Yeah.
As I say, we're
I
like
love that.
retired Secret Service agents, so we're like scanning the room all the time. Every time we see a swing, it's analyzing it without thinking about it.
That's
But
what I love learning from other coaches and like hearing you speak. I love hearing the other. It's just I love hearing these other ways just to think about it and just jog my mind and go, huh? Am I going about this? I just think it's great to think about it.
exactly. And then I question myself and then look at other coaches and I do the exact same thing because
Yeah.
we can always go, it's endless, right? We can always go deeper with this golf. And so if I can get that student then to move and get into that position where they're incredibly balanced, like a cat landing, fully
Yep.
coiled still, and then release everything at once, then you see the symmetry of the swing happen. If I get them to feel that, I could describe it as the ride the bike moment. And certainly to ride the bike, you have to actually ride the bike. So we got to do that when hit a ball. But the
Yep.
problem is fight or flight response system and your balance system are on all the time. And so I'll just add this little nugget, right? You ever get that sensation, or the student gets a sensation where they kind of throw their hips at it at the last second, like an involuntary spasm. And as I described to my students, I said, hey, you know what your golf swing is doing? It's talking to you. It's telling you, hey, it's over there. And maybe sometimes they have a little dip,
Yeah.
right? Hey, it's
Yeah.
over there and down.
Yep.
Keep going over it. Where the golfer, in our minds, we say, I don't want to do that. I'm going to try to not have my fight or flight responses or my balance system turn on, which is, of course, is impossible. Those are automatic systems. So again, if I can get them to feel that moment, that's what I'm sort of feel, get them in a sequence so they can actually feel the thing. Then it's a kind of a powerful moment for them. And then again, builds more trust with me, and then we can go farther and farther. So it's always this building of trust. I'm going to take you farther down this road, kind of a pattern for me. And that's how I sort of approach it. In the same time,
I've,
I'm sort of talking about the same things Eric's talking about. I don't think I've really.
well, I think Mike, you're gonna love this. Like what I did with him that I don't show here is that bag that my bag, the Titleist ball bag there. I put that right on that line where I have him here, and I had him work on doing his release into that. Okay, so he was going up there and involuntary thinking about there's your release. That club has to be straight. And I told him he could put his golf bag there or whatever. And I showed him a video of Tiger. Tiger did this a lot before his round, would
Yes.
have the thing about 6 or 8 inches in front, and then he would just do his release. So because he's like, he asked me first, okay,
Yeah.
how do I got to hold this much longer? I go, no, I don't want you to think about holding. I go, I want you to think about the releases up here into this point, which was this straight line where I put the den caddy up there right along that line. That was done before, and he picked it up really quick, that thing. But I thought you'd like that because I did. You
Right.
know, that's another way of kind of doing what you're saying without, I didn't even mention it, but I did. Okay, your release has to be here, which is, it's funny about how different we can go about the same things, and I love it. That's so cool.
And then to me, it kind of goes to the final piece for me is that golf is intuitive, right? And we're really playing great. We're not thinking about anything. It's just happening around us somehow. And I'm trying to get them to know that that is a possible thing for them. Most people just assume, well, that's for some pro or some really good golfer. And they get into sequence, they can actually feel that. And so then that's I get them to hit a ball like that. And of course, they'll be addicted to golf forever and be stuck like the rest of us talking
Right.
about obsessed.
Well, as we kind of wind down, it's going to play nicely with my next question and last question, which is, what do you leave the student with when you've done your lesson? What's the last 5 or 10 minutes, and what do you leave them with? Eric, let's go to you.
Yeah, so every I always believe in this, like they have to have a feedback component to any like drill or whatever I give them. So like the worst thing that could ever happen is somebody does a drill and they go, I don't know if I did it right. To me, there has to be some sense of some feedback component going, I did this and I did it correct. So whatever drills we're working on, I make sure they understand what those are. But I'm also, let's say we did 3 different drills in our lesson, or 2 different, whatever they are. I in on form, they get those afterwards. I send them to them after the lesson. I also record them talking about how they did it, how they get to that point, because I think their words are better than mine. But I will send them me doing the drill or somebody else doing the drill correctly. But to me, the big thing is whatever drill we're leaving with them to work on, that to me, that they have a feedback component. So when that they do it, they can go, okay, that was right, that was correct, instead of like, oh, I don't know, it felt good. I'm like, that doesn't matter. There has to be some feedback component telling you if you're doing this drill right. And whatever it is, whatever drill we're doing, there's going to be one for it. So, and then the videos that they get afterwards is to me the key for them to continue to progress.
Great, Mike.
Yeah, I agree completely. Having some feedback, and I'm also, and I think Eric's kind of saying this too, is showing them how to practice. You want to
Oh
do
yeah.
the process, a little routine that we're going to go through. I customize it a bit, but at the same time, I'm basically trying to get people to do similar things because I know that they can kind of work with the mind and then the process. And so I'll take my iPad and I'll set it up, go wide angle and film off my camera and then upload that. It takes 2 seconds. Just upload it into OnForm. Super simple. I'll hold the camera for them and have them do it. They're talking. I'll switch the camera and maybe jump in there and show this is what we talked about, this is what we did. So I'm going to be at the end of every lesson giving them a video that kind of summarizes what we did, how I want them to practice, the real key points. And then, like Eric said, feedback is massive. So a little feedback loop. Now they have, instead of a YouTube video, they have something that was specific to them. And lastly, too, getting them to say it themselves. Yes, 100%. Well, how do they accept it? Because they don't need to say it how I say it. I want them to see kind of where I'm pushing them towards and then make it their own, right?
Yeah.
And so it's very helpful. And then the pro hack, you can take those videos, shoot them wide, and then you send them to an editor for not very much money. They're in foreign lands.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they got YouTube videos. So
There you go.
to kind of do.
100%.
And then you can chop them into shorts too for social media. So
That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
No, great. Well, guys, this has been the best part about this is I can just turn you guys loose and you conduct the whole webinar, which is good for me. I have like 20 questions here to prompt you, and I think I asked you 2 or 3, so this is great. As always, really appreciate your feedback and the input that you guys have. We've had a whole ton of coaches on here, and we'll get to other questions that we had for people that are still waiting. We will post this on YouTube, but I just want to say thank you so much. Really valuable. And thanks for your support of On Forum, of course. And look forward to doing it again sometime.
Yeah,
I get,
we
ahead,
can
Eric.
answer some, if you want us, we can answer some questions and send them if that would help. Send you a video to answer some if that help. But I also want to thank On Forum because, I mean, being with you here, it's just not saying this from the beginning. It's just awesome how you guys keep getting better. It's just this level is awesome. It keeps getting better and better, and you're growing. It's not stopping because everything's changing as we go, right? So it's just, you keep giving us the tools we need. So it's just, love the company and love who's behind it. So it's awesome.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, so I'd like to say thank you as well. And with I have multiple on-form setups because I have multiple coaches. And since I got a bunch of coaches here, I'd like to say, hey, if you'd like to move to beautiful Carlsbad, California, by the way, it's like 75 degrees today. It's a beautiful place to teach. And I'm looking to grow the business. So if you are interested in coming out, or if you're sort of in the area and want to do some coaching, we'd love to talk to you and see if you'd be a good fit for Cali Golf. And you just get me on Cali Golf _ or Mike.Mags Golf on Instagram.
Cool.
Awesome.
Eric,
Awesome.
what's your deets? Do we have
just Erik, Erik at ejsgolf.com.
Cool.
Yeah, and all my social media stuff's on there. I haven't been good at it lately, but too busy, but that's okay.
All good. Thanks, guys, so much for joining us. And thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll do more of these webinars, and have a good rest of your day.
Thanks, everybody.
Cheers, everybody.